You are listening to The Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ. Join him as he and his guests discover how businesses thrive in California.
Welcome to The Pilgrim on the 405 on this little bit gray day here in Southern California. But we are going to have a lot of fun today talking to Dave Meltzer. Now, Dave has spent the last 25 years as an entrepreneur and executive in the legal, technology, sports, and entertainment fields. And he's a Forbes top 10 keynote speaker, Variety Magazine Sports Humanitarian of the Year, best-selling author, and combination of Dave's situational knowledge from his career and life journey has given Dave a big platform to talk to people and help them be the best they can possibly be. So welcome to Pilgrim on the 405, Dave.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
So Dave, lots of big stuff here. You probably somebody in your organization knows one of the people who live in my condo, Lisa Murray, who was in charge of marketing at Entrepreneur for a long time.
Absolutely. I do a lot with Entrepreneur Magazine here in Orange County. Great business on the 405.
Yes, that's right. So tell us, how did you build this platform? What were the obstacles that you had to overcome?
Well, it was interesting because I've always taken a different approach. I've trusted the journey. I believe in a consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my potential. Mm-hmm. And so unlike a lot of people who early on in my life I attached to outcomes, I let that go and I really trusted. Some people would say God or the universe. Either one's fine with me. But I do. I know that things... initially, I thought things were against me, and I grew up with nothing and just wanted to be rich. And then I made the mistake as I retired in my 30s that the universe was for me, and that was a huge mistake. And through a process of re-engineering my life into being of service, I realized that everything comes through me, which is much greater than for me. And so I live my life. I pray to God every morning that I can have 10 people in front of me that I can help. I then capture the content that I have because I think there's great inspirational ideas that need to be amplified. And through the marketing expertise I used to run Leigh Steinberg here in Orange County, the most notable sports agency, and I built great brands, personal brands like Lee himself or Warren Moon or Troy Aikman or Steve Young and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith, all the great names you know. Well, I helped to build those brands and market those brands, and now I apply it to myself over the last 3 years and build great ideas to inspire entrepreneurs, philanthropists, humanitarians, anyone that I can help. I try my best to do so.
Well, there is a big couple of myths out there that I think you touched on. One is that myth of scarcity. There's not enough to go around, right?
Oh, you nailed it.
So you got to start getting out there and grabbing it, because if you don't, it's not going to be there.
You're talking my language.
Yeah.
I say there's three worlds. There's a world of not enough, which so many people live in, no matter what they have.
Right.
I'm in Africa, and they live in a world of more than enough, and they don't have anything. And then there's the world of just enough as well. You know, people, and I believe that the universe is abundant. There's an abundant universe with everything that everybody wants, and it's our job to get out of our own way and allow it to happen.
Well, if you limit your awareness to the last 15 minutes, generally of media, you're going to hear the myth of scarcity. If you open up to 13.7 billion years, which is as far as we can know about the created universe, and you see that what some people would see as the destruction of a galaxy or the explosion of a supernova as a disaster is really what caused us to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if that's not abundance...
And the whole universe expands, right?
Yes.
We are scientifically proving expansion. If that's not abundant in its core, the idea of expansion, you are one of the few people, I think, that get it. In fact, my mother's someone that instilled this in me, and she taught me a long time ago. She's a teacher, 6 kids, single mom, and I was, very scared and scarce. And, she always told me, you got to study history, Dave. You got to study history. I'm like, I don't want to memorize history. I don't like to look backwards. He said, no, you don't get it. I want you to live in the present and prepare for the future. But by studying history, you learn human nature, right? And that abundance is what I see when I look back 13.7 billion years.
Yes, absolutely.
It's human nature.
Well, I mean, to come from something smaller than a grain of sand, right? everything that we know now came from a smaller than a grain of sand. Now, if that's not abundance.
Well, yeah, and then you look at the expansive side, too, of our DNA, for example, because this technology allows us to see more, become aware of more, vibrate faster, as I like to say. But, I'm dealing with, and I always have, the energetic side originally of unconscious competency. Well, now I'm looking at the genetic side of unconscious competency, this genetic side of DNA, this God's code, the code that we've been given that's so microcosmic, but yet carries information that could attract or, your attitude, your perception, your diseases, your addictions. These things, we can, through an exogenetic layer, we can activate or deactivate anything within our own being and also within all beings. And, we were talking earlier about things coming through us. We are all connected. And
we are one. We are one. And it is that myth of separation, again, that we are taught. And it to me, it comes from fear.
Of course.
That fear of somehow I am less than, that I don't have control over, that somehow I'm going to die.
Yeah. The ego's heartbeat is fear, right? That scarcity and fear, that separation. I always say I do a lot of business coaching and life coaching, and I say, look, it's real simple. You start looking at the need to be right, the need to be separate, the need to be offended, right? The need to be fearful. Those simple needs, and that'll take about 80% of the waste of energy that you have. And if you start putting that energy towards helping others,
absolutely,
you're going to be totally in the right place.
Well, and in helping others, you're helping yourself.
Always.
Because that is yourself.
You're helping yourself.
Right.
A tree has no branches.
That's right.
Right? I mean, would a tree cut off a limb? And that's what we do so often when we separate ourselves.
Only if the limb dies. Right?
Correct.
And to me, that is a mental picture. The limb has decided to die.
To move on.
And so, to that extent, the tree does have a limb that's going to leave.
Correct.
But without that, I mean, if the tree doesn't have a limb, then we don't have anything other than us.
That's so deep.
Right?
Yeah. This is you're definitely the pilgrim of the 405. This is not where I thought we were going to go, but this is my kind of stuff. So thank you for having me.
Well, and what do you find the greatest obstacles to people to get to that place? Because that place of abundance is one of joy and felicity and clarity. What do you find the biggest obstacles?
It's really, number one, trust. What I tell a story about being on the edge of a cliff and looking over the edge, we feel fear. Right? There's a human response, an ego response of fear to protect ourselves. Well, that's true emotionally as well. But we look over a cliff onto the rocks in the water, hundreds of feet down, and I tell people, imagine leaning over too far, slipping and falling off the cliff, and now you reach up and you grab a branch, and I'm hanging on, and I yell up. I see so many people do this in life as their obstacles. They yell up, please, right? Please, is anyone up there that can help me? They're not looking anywhere. And, of course, God or the universe yells down, of course, I'm here to help you. Just let go.
Let go.
Right? And I'll catch you.
Is there anybody else up there?
Yeah, you got it. That's, the old story. And I live by that because everyone's looking for something else. And right there, they just have to let go and trust.
So let's talk about that in business.
Good.
All right, so we have a CEO, sometimes a founder, sometimes inherited it, but they see themselves as responsible for making this business happen, taking care of themselves, maybe their families included in that, and they're working 90 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
And letting go would mean letting somebody else take responsibility.
Surrendering.
And why can't they do that?
It's because, attachment's one of the problems, but I think there's a difficulty in understanding the difference between theoretical, inspirational, and pragmatic. And business, you need to have, number one, a passion for what you do. When we're counting hours, hours are not equal. It's a man-made construct, right time. And if we live an inspired life, a passionate life about our business, our family, our friends, our community, and even the world now, if we live a passionate life, we can bend time. People tell me all the time, oh, you're too busy, meaning to be accessible to others. I'm not. I'm productive and accessible. That's why I have a 5-20 rule, 5-minute phone calls, 20-minute meetings. I keep different things at different time frames, but I also schedule what I'm passionate about. I live a very passionate life with a purpose. And then the thing that I do differently than most is I take time to create strategies on how to be profitable. And I believe that a lot of people can't reconcile passion with purpose and profitability. They feel somehow that they're cheating somehow if they want to be profitable in what they're passionate about, that this is an impossibility. You know, people are joking when I'm on vacation, like, oh, you're working on vacation? I go, no, because I never work. If I'm at work, I'm on vacation. If I'm on vacation, I'm working. Right. Because all my lines are completely blurred, because if I don't love it, I'm not going to do it. And then people go, you can't do that because you need to make money. No, I've challenged myself over the years to figure out how can I take what I'm passionate about with a purpose and make money from it.
All right, but here's what I'm going to suggest. That, yes, we can bend time, but we can't make more time.
Nope.
All
24 hours a day.
So when you talk about purpose and passion and profit, we can't do that without other people.
Correct. Well, we were all right, no doubt, and that's where productivity comes in.
Yes, but what do most CEOs who are caught in this 90-hour a week? What are they believing?
Doing it themselves.
I am the only one who can do this.
Yeah.
And so what I'm suggesting is that in the world that I live, the system that I found that helps is called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, and we have 20 tools. One of them is, we call it GWC. And that means that when you create your accountability chart without people in it yet, and you know there are 5 responsibilities for this particular seat, then the only person that's going to get in that seat is one who gets where you're going. Now, they certainly agree with the values of the company, but they get it. They understand what the purpose is. Then they want to be there. There's nothing that's going to stop them from being there. They're not going to tell you, I'm late because of traffic. They're going to say, I'm late because I didn't get up early enough because I want to be here.
Right.
So they got to want it, passionately want it, and then they have to be capable, have the God-given capacity to do it. Now, that to me is what creates the trust. If I know that person that I'm turning a responsibility over to, or someone who accepts a task, is going to do that 90% of the time, then I'm free then to follow my other passions, which are family, things that family wants to do, things that I want to do. But the work is going to happen because there are people there who want to do it. And now, that's not just for the CEO's benefit. Think about the person who gets into that job. Now, for the first time in their life, maybe they've got something they really want to do that they're very good at, and they don't have to do a lot of stuff that they don't.
Yeah, no doubt. We, at my company, Sports One Marketing, with Warren Moon and I founded, it's funny because we have a big internship program. We're growing at an amazing rate, but we do it off of 4 things. One is accountability, but the other 3, 1, gratitude. So we teach gratitude, which is perspective. 2 is forgiveness. In fact, I give a dummy tax award, which I don't think any other company does, where I go around our meeting and ask everyone very quickly to give me the biggest mistake that they've made that affects my business, and which one of gratitude, empathy, accountability, or effective communication caused the problem, right?
The lack of one of those 4.
The lack of one of those 4. And then whoever makes the biggest mistake, or what I think is the most valuable lesson, they get a big bonus.
Good.
And so I bonus that. But the effective communication side is interesting because we talk about accessibility. Productivity has to be tied to accessibility. And there's 2 things about accessibility. One, as a leader, as a CEO, an entrepreneurial CEO, we have to be accessible to those people to help empower them with these values. But moreover,
we don't empower them.
They empower themselves.
They have the power.
Correct.
We give them permission. That's what happens here.
Very good.
And to me, that is so important that we're not giving other people something. We are accepting who they really have, and maybe for the first time in their lives, they've been accepted for what they want and what they can do.
Right. And you nailed it by saying a lot of times we don't look at the capabilities, and we want, I'm a sports guy, you could coach me every day and inspire me every day, but I'm not going to be able to dunk a basketball for you. Right? And I see it all the time in the workforce where we're asking the wrong people to do the wrong things because of their capability. The other side of accessibility, though, which a lot of people ignore, is how well are we accessing help? And that's the part where access is a duality, that we have to be accessible to others. But my biggest mistake in my 30s, I lost over $100 million in my 30s. I was retired. And I will tell you, people ask me, how'd you do that? Well, it's real simple. I didn't ask for help.
Right.
I owned a golf course, a ski mountain. I never asked. My golf course was worth $12 million when I built it, over 120 on paper. And I never asked one person that owned a golf course, hey, what do you think I should do? Right. And this is truly how I feel about asking for help, because people love to help. I mean, if somebody can do something, very rarely will they say no if you ask them to help.
Of course not.
Right, because they love to. Well, I could have looked in, back then, I'm old, I could have looked in the yellow pages at any golf course in the country, called them up, asked to talk to a general manager or owner.
And they would have been delighted.
and they would have saved me $100 million.
Well, yes. Yeah. And any CEO can build this into his company, and they would save him 50 hours.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is more than $100 million.
No doubt.
Right?
Yeah, nobody counts their money on their deathbed. I just lost my father-in-law, and he reminded me of that.
Yes, that's right. And now you mentioned this people who are capable of it. There are people who are very capable of doing things, but they don't want to. It's not in their genetic, it's not their genes, it's not their goal, not their hope, desire. I knew an attorney. Grandfather was a great attorney, father was a great attorney, said, son, you are going to be a great attorney, and we're going to put you into the best elementary school, the best high school. We're going to put you in the best law firm, best law school, best law firm. You're going to be great. 50 years old. He is a great attorney. Lots of money. He's moving around for people, doing lots of help, and he is depressed.
Miserable.
Why? Never wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
So when we ask people, what do you want? Right?
Yeah, it's right there, right?
There it is.
Right there. It manifests everything you desire.
Exactly. Well, we're going to take a break here to hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. And then, Dave, we're going to continue this conversation.
I love it.
Hi, it's time for another tip from Sandler Training. Traditional sales training teaches techniques on how to eliminate stalls and objections. Some are fancy sales moves, while others are programmed responses. Sales is a conversation, and I don't know how you can memorize every possible response for every sales situation. Also, the prospect has usually heard these responses before and has been turned off by some fancy sales move. When you really think about it, the only person qualified to address the stall or objection is the prospect. Ask the right questions, and you will eliminate stalls and objections. And that's another tip from Sandler Training, finding power through reinforcement.
Well, welcome back to the Pilgrim on the 405, where we're having a rocking and rolling time with Dave Meltzer, talking about how the universe is put together not on scarcity, but on abundance from a loving creator who cares about every one of us. So, Dave, tell me, and you said at one point you lost $100 and some million or something. What was the biggest mistake that you made in your life? Not that one, but others that got in the way of moving forward.
My ego, which consists of truly believing my own BS. And so what I surrounded myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. One of the things I learned as I transitioned my career into sports, working for Leigh Steinberg, being the CEO of the most notable sports agency, was I was blessed to be around the world's greatest. Vander Holyfield, Oscar De La Hoya, then in baseball, Sabathia, Ramirez, and then in football, all the biggest names. Yes, they're great athletes, but to be the world's best at something, and then even to partner with Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, as my best friend and partner, there was a different vibration. and the people they surrounded themselves with. These great media people, and then great, especially Leigh, politicians and philanthropists and authors. And then I'm on the Transformational Leadership Council with, the great Jack Canfields and Bob Proctor, and Napoleon Hill Foundation and Junior Achievement as a chancellor. And all of a sudden I started realizing, wow, the biggest mistake I made was I wasn't surrounding myself with the right people and the right ideas.
Well, your life is determined by the 5 people that you spend most of your time with, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. And, when I retired, I had some great mentors getting to the point where I retired. But once I retired, I started, hanging out with the people that were hanging out in the wrong places and lying to not only myself, but to my wife and my best friend. I remember him telling me, I go, why don't you hang out with me anymore? This is a friend since the 4th grade. He goes, because I don't like the people you hang out with. And I said, well, but I'm not like them. And he breaks me up in tears because he said, look, you can lie to yourself, but don't lie to me.
Right.
I know what, and I went home and I always say, things come through me. I got a big seed from God that night.
Yeah.
Said, no, your biggest fear has come true because you're a BSer. And the worst is you become a liar and you're lying to yourself. You think you're a motivator. You think, my dad always said 2 types of people, manipulators and motivators. You think you're motivating people, you're a manipulator.
Right.
And I made a drastic change in my life.
It seems to me that's part of the difficulty we're having right now in the country, and it's not liberal or conservative. It's that we are lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
And the question is, which lie are we going to live today? Based upon this election or that election, or which of those lies are we going to believe? And the reality is, those people coming across the border are human beings. They're us.
Yeah, well,
they are us.
I was going to say separation is the issue, right? I loved. I watched a lot of the funeral for John McCain and Obama's speech with Republican and Democrat presidents, because, I'm not making any political comments. I just like the comment of, we didn't agree with each other. We argued all the time, and this was one bad dude. Like, he was a real aggressive guy. He was a survivor.
Right.
I mean, this is a hero.
Yes.
He has a backbone that was made of aluminum fiber. I mean, this guy, you couldn't bend or break.
Right.
But we were both on the same team.
Right.
And I use a football analogy because I was blessed to play college football. I've been around the best football players in the world. At times when you're on that team, everyone's goal is to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Right.
Or a national championship.
Right.
But if you're on a team, sometimes that offense does not get along with the defense. And the defense doesn't get along with the special teams. And everybody, during practice, you get fights between the two. But when the practice is over, everybody has one goal, and that's the problem with America right now. I don't feel like we're all on the same team.
No, we don't know where we're going. We don't know how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And when we look back and tell a story about people who had an idea about where they were going. And that's what we tell ourselves, but we're not really believing it. We don't live that out. I got to tell you, for me, after the election, the November election, I realized, probably for the first time, that there was a huge chunk of America that I had discounted, didn't listen to, didn't know anything about, didn't know how to talk to, and just generally excluded them.
Yeah.
And I said, I got to do something about that. And the first person I had to talk to was my brother. My brother is a flat earther, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he is an expert in all the YouTube data about flat Earth, and there is nothing will shake his belief. And for years, I had just discounted him and said my wife and I would laugh behind his back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take him seriously, and I had to change that. I had to say, I don't care what he believes. He's my brother.
Good.
And we began to have conversations, and things changed. That changed in so many other places in my life as well. Things that I had said, I don't want to deal with that anymore. that can't be true. So therefore, I can't trust or talk to those people. And as I began to move into those areas and just stand there and hear and talk and listen and ask questions, huge amounts of possibilities came forward. And I think that's something that we can be telling each other is there are forces out there, and I don't know, the demonic forces. The results are as if they were demonic, right?
Yeah.
But there are forces out there that make money, get power, and celebrity out of separation.
Well, a lot of them.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it is a force.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just something we wound up with. It's not something we just got infected with. It is a program of separation. And to me, when you look back on that band of people that came from England and got off and stepped on that rock in New England, right? They believed that they were going someplace.
Under oneness.
Absolutely, and the founders believed they were going someplace. Now, did they argue? Look at the Federalist Papers. But they believed they were going someplace together. And that, to me, is what we have lost.
Yeah, what's the name of our country? The United One, right? That's what we've lost. And I think... And unfortunately, fear is a catalyst, as we talked earlier, is the catalyst that people use. And they don't... Leigh Steinberg, who's one of my mentors, not a perfect human being, but a genius, he told me not only be kind to your future self, but also be more interested than interesting. Mm-hmm. And when you bring up your brothers, my brother's a rabbi. My other brother, he's an extraordinary entrepreneur. And... all three of us couldn't be more different, but we're all the same. Mm-hmm. We're all brothers. And, my brother will say things. My brother Rabbi was with us for my wife's 50th birthday this weekend and my anniversary as well. And he said, I don't believe in success, my rabbi brother. We went to Harvard, summa cum laude, biochem major, extremely academic. And I said, wow. I said, I've never heard anyone that doesn't believe in success. I go, can you define? Now, he's very open and brilliant. So when I started asking questions, can you define success? And when he defined success, it made sense. But it just made me think, as you're describing difficulties about a flat earther, is a lot of times we don't ask that question, and people mean something a lot different than what we thought. Right. And it's not quite as non-palatable or acceptable as it comes off with. And if we use fear as a catalyst... right, we can instantly now create huge separation and also conflict by, someone tells me they're a flat earther, I'm thinking all kinds of things in my head. Meanwhile, when it's described to me, and my brother who I love, I get what he's saying. What he was trying to say by he doesn't respect success or it was people who get money the wrong way.
Right.
Or use it in the wrong way.
Right.
Which is what we talked about. It was a nice thing because I always say, to me, I love money because of what I can do with it. But I have neglected that important lesson you gave me earlier, which I'm going to take away from here, which is simply, Dave, don't forget about the people. It's how they got the money. Right. Because there's a lot of people I know that get the money in a really bad way and do really good things with it. Robin Hood doesn't work for me either. Right. It's a great point.
Well, that's why I get excited and passionate about the entrepreneurial operating system, because most people that I've discovered want to get money the right way.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't know how.
Good point.
Right? They just don't know how. And what I have come to discover is that the only two reasons, now maybe you can give me a third one, but the only two reasons that somebody doesn't do something is because either they don't want to or they don't know how.
That's beautiful.
Right? Yeah. So the clients that I look for are people who want to grow their business, but they've hit the ceiling. They want to hold people accountable, but they've discovered that when you start telling them what to do, it doesn't work. They want to retain people on their leadership team, but they don't know how.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. There are two reasons. I think there's three nuances of that. One is the conscious level, what you think, say, and do. Right. Two, subconsciously, what they believe. We're all born with no no beliefs. Those evolve, but they then get in their own way both ways. And then finally, we talked earlier about unconscious. People sometimes just unconsciously, they are carrying baggage of 4 generations past, or just energetic baggage where they're attracting.
Well, absolutely. Think about why we brush our teeth. We didn't decide one day, sit on the edge of the curb and say, I think I'll start create a toothbrush and toothpaste and brush. Our parents taught us to brush our teeth, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, why did they tell us to brush our teeth? What did they say? If you don't brush your teeth, what?
Teeth are going to fall out.
Your teeth are going to fall out. Your teeth fall out, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You can't eat. If you can't eat, what's going to happen?
You're going to starve.
You're going to starve. You're going to die.
Exactly.
Well, that's what parents' job is to keep us alive, right?
Exactly.
And so they tell us so many things because of their fear about dying, us dying.
Yeah.
And so to me, every once in a while, we have to sit down with our kit bag of beliefs and ask, is this helping me get what I want, or is this getting in the way? And you said they evolve. I mean, it seems to me that what happens is they come at us. They came to us from our parents, and probably from their parents and their parents. And we have this kit bag we've inherited. We have a second tsunami of information and beliefs that we were talking about before that has a program. All right. And one of my mentors always said, you're either running your own plan or you're in somebody else's plan. And so many of us are in that plan, that program of scarcity.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is somehow we are in touch with, when we get rid of all the blocks, when we are quiet and we're not afraid, we have contact with the Creator, with this force, the abundance, this creative energy that's there that will contrast all of the things that we inherited from our parents and all of the programs that we're getting, and we can use that as the discriminator for the things in our kit bag. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I see myself as a co-creator. The word commandment isn't to tell someone what to do. It's to co-create. And we feel best. And I do meditate. It was a big change in my life. I meditate 20 minutes every morning consistently. And the reason is I want to be at peace. I want to allow that co-creation to occur. I want to be at peace to see so many people have the answers and they don't pay attention to the answers because they want a direct result. And if through this surrendering, and this is true in the entrepreneurial, I'm sure, side of things that you teach.
Absolutely.
I listen all the time. I know I've studied the 6 breaths of Buddha where, within 6 breaths, I should make my decision, after receiving the data. So many times I think of things and I don't pay attention to it, right? Where did this come from, right? When I'm at peace, I know exactly where it came from. And that should warrant a big amount of my energy and attention when something comes to me. It's a gift. It's a seed. And it may not be the path. Let me explain. If this doesn't prove this non-attachment, I went to law school because I couldn't be a professional athlete. I wasn't born with the capability. Or at least I wasn't willing to mature it with enough work to make it happen.
It wasn't what you wanted to do.
Enough, right, exactly. I wasn't like Ray Lewis, who when he looked me in the eyes and said I was willing to die when I stepped on a football field,
right,
it took a new meaning.
Yes.
But I went to law school thinking I would be a sports agent and as a backup admiralty lawyer, oil and gas litigator. Ended up in technology. Ended up a millionaire in 9 months. Ended up in Silicon Valley, on Sand Hill Road, raising millions of dollars, getting a real estate, VC, all these things. And then, at the age of 36 years old, I became a sports agent because I connected emotionally to Leigh Steinberg in 48 hours. And the universe, well, if you reverse engineer that, and my mother, who I always say, just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice, because they want to protect us.
Yes.
And they don't know us.
Right.
They don't know what we want, the lawyer story that you said. But if my mom would have said, you know what, Dave, here's what you want to do. Go to law school, get that education, but I want you to sell legal research online for Westlaw. Then I want you to go to the Silicon Valley and the wireless product. Then I want you to do this. And then I want you to take all your money and get into real estate and technology and become a VC and an angel. And then I want you to lose everything, so you're looking for a job, but you meet this guy and help out a friend, and that's how you're going to be a sports agent. Would I have believed her? But that's what the universe did for me.
Yes. And to me, the universe is like waves at the beach. It keeps throwing these things forward, and like good surfers, we sit there on that surfboard thinking, well, maybe there's a bigger one coming, or shall I carry this all the way to the beach? But it keeps coming, and that to me is what's exciting, and that's why I do the podcast. Is because for everyone there is another wave.
Right.
It's always another wave.
That's the best.
Right? And the scarcity says there is no other wave. You're 40? You're over the 50, 60, 70, 80? You're over the hill. Never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in your deathbed. Well, this is it. They don't tell you. You're probably going to come around again, so just take a deep breath.
Oh, even worse, too, people think that's their wave. There's no other waves for anyone else. Right?
Oh, my goodness.
And then you kick them off. I used to surf when I was young in San Diego, and, it was territorial. You caught that wave. No more waves are coming now that you got the wave, right? Like the bigger one couldn't be behind it, and the end all, and that's the scarcity side too.
Oh, absolutely.
There is enough of everything for everyone, and it's a perspective, and it's so true. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, where I'm working on myself so much that I want to allow me to receive more. Right? Like, I know that I'm not allowing everything that's out there for me. I give examples to people. I go, when I was little, 5 years old, I wanted to make $1 million. $1 million was all the money in the world to me. I was completely poor at 5.
Right.
And the reason I wanted to make $1 million was I wanted to buy my mom a house and a car, and I never would have to work again.
Right.
Today, I've made that in one business deal in one day. But when I think about perspective and the allowance of how much, I think about what's it like to make $100 billion? Because someone does that today. Someone has made $100 billion. It's in the same realm of me making $1 million. And I tell myself I'm in my own way.
It is in the same realm as someone coming out of the park, getting off of meth and finding a job.
Yeah. Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
$100 billion and coming out of the park, getting off of meth, getting a job, what is it that we say? There's no level of miracles?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no bigger miracle or smaller miracle. They're all miracles, because it's all recognizing that we can get that on that surfboard when that wave comes.
Yeah, well, that's last 4 years. I believe in consistency, and I've been studying the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
And I figured you have.
Absolutely.
And I tell people about how the human body reacts to the subconscious mind, and how you have to do things every day. And there's a lesson every day in the Course in Miracles. And I teach people, you want to change your life, say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. Do it 30 straight days. I guarantee it'll change your life. Well, I give it the 30-day thank you challenge.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to say thank you. 0.1 seconds it takes, 30 straight. It took me, I teach this, 9 months before I could say thank you every single day for 30 seconds. I forgot. And moreover...
No, you didn't forget. You bought into a different story.
Yeah, thank you.
Right?
Even better. I love talking to you.
It's because we live this life of somehow we did something wrong, right? We forgot.
Yeah.
There is no mistake. There is no wrong. It's consistent with the story, the beliefs that we have.
Right.
And it's changing those beliefs that makes it happen. It's not gritting our teeth and doing it harder.
Right.
Right? I mean, you know from the football guys you worked with, it's not going out there and working harder.
Right.
It's got to change the belief that you have.
Yeah, and I listened to the wrong story. And the same thing with the Course in Miracles. This is the first year, 4 years, that I've done my lesson every single day. Right, September 4th here, 246 lessons.
This is the fourth time I've gone through it.
Well, same as me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But I've done it, and because now, like you said, I've bought into that story. In fact, I want people to understand, because sometimes people like you and I are seen as woo-woo or a little bit out there.
Right.
And so they ask me, you see beads that I wear, or you have your beautiful bracelet. And I also trace calligraphies that Master and Dr. Shaw had given me for karmic downloads and shifting my energy. And I have a 6'1" in my office and a 6'1" at home. And every day I trace those. And I tell people, look, if you believe in something, I don't care what it is. It could be the luck of your tennis shoes. But for me, I look at several things of what I'm going to believe in. One, what's the risk? Right, what is the risk of reading a lesson of Napoleon Hill or A Course in Miracles or praying or saying thank you? What is the risk? And then two, does it work? Does it work? To me, I don't care what it is. And people get so upset. They get upset with me going, Dave. And I think, well, first of all, I was in Mexico City speaking this summer, and the Aztecs had some serious rituals that had tremendous risk, right? Like self-sacrifice, cutting off your own hand, and they cut off your head, which was the greatest honor.
Yes.
That belief's a little too risky for me. I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm not ready to do it.
Right.
And so I don't buy in and believe that.
It's not something we want to do.
Thank you.
It is something they wanted to do. And what is amazing is that we don't recognize that they wanted to, because that is so horrendous and so contra to our story. But to really listen and hear their story, that was what they lived for. Right.
It's their story. That's so beautiful. No, thank you. I mean, it's very rare that I come on a podcast and feel like such a student, and I just am enjoying this immensely, and really look forward to amplifying this content, because it's the nuances of what there's subtleties. And I think doing the Course in Miracles 4 years like you have, isn't it amazing from the first time that you read it to like, wait, where was this?
I have the dates written down for each page that I did, right?
Yeah.
It's 4 different dates. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a whole different passage, though.
I mean, it's just deeper and deeper. And I'll tell you what's exciting.
Yep.
What's exciting is to preach on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
In a middle-class, traditional Episcopal church, and be listening to the Bible, and also listening to that Jesus story in the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
And to have integrity. And it's always an aha for people. I mean, just to talk about forgiveness.
Yeah.
I mean, we in the Episcopal Church, every Sunday, we do confession and absolution, right? But it's a ritual. But to say, oh, my goodness, 60% of the issues that you've got out there could be resolved if you would forgive.
And who do you tell them to forgive?
Well, they have to. Well, what they're going to discover is that they're forgiving themselves.
Thank you. Exactly.
But,
one person.
But they have to start by forgiving that projection that they've made.
Good point.
Right? Because that's the dance, that's the belief, that's the story.
Yeah.
And forgiveness dissolves the story.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? And it dissolves the energy. I have several of my clients, and they've done some bad decisions, let's just say in their marriage, for example. And they're looking for forgiveness from their spouse, and they're project all these different things. I say, whoa, you're doing this backwards. And they look at me, and I go, just do me a favor. Stop calling. Stop asking for forgiveness. What I want you to do is sit at home and learn to forgive yourself. I want you to carry that energy and watch how everyone else starts treating you. When you forgive yourself, there are no attacks, right, if there's no defense.
Well, I think that's important, because we wind up doing that. I learned from my wife, oh my goodness, back when we were living in San Antonio, my son, Eric, had done something that offended me. And
he must have been a teenager. I got the
I don't know, something. And here I was, a father trying to teach my son about forgiveness, right? I mean, about accepting responsibility and asking for forgiveness. And Mary said, well, have you forgiven Eric yet? And I said, no. And she said, well, why not? I said, well, he hasn't come in to say he's sorry. And she said, you don't get it. That's not how it works. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, people, we have confession and then absolution. She said, nah, that's not right. She said, you forgive in order for him to be able to say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Because as long as he is afraid that you won't forgive him, he can't say, I'm sorry.
She's don't know her name's Mary.
Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
Whoa! I mean, so telling people that you want somebody to you want to recognize that oneness that you already are, and you want to remove that block that you've put together. You have to change the story.
Yeah, I love that.
And so the story is that you're going to change it to is, I forgive you. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, which allows them to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you resist persists.
Oh.
It's so interesting. That you nailed it. I love the fact when you say, because I think if someone asked me, because I am blessed to be married 23 years and our anniversary is Friday, but so many times in my life, and very successful financially as a young man, and married to this, dream girl of mine since the 4th grade who didn't like me back then. But she would say all the time, you don't get it, right? And I'd say in my head, look around you, who doesn't get it?
Right.
Look around
Look at
you.
These things. I mean, my goodness.
Exactly.
You got the car, the house, the boat.
Oh, God, I was so far in my own way. And now, they asked me, someone asked me a question about, on the Instagram, they said, about my wife, behind every great man is a great woman. I said, no, let me just tell you. It's very simple. Ahead of every great man is a woman pulling you,
That's right.
teaching you, training you to be a great man.
That's right.
They are not behind you at all. No, they're leading the way, and they're so enlightened and humble, the great women of the world,
right,
that they don't have to take any credit.
No, and Kierkegaard, one of my mentors, said that the salvation of every man is a good wife.
He's an existentialist for a reason, and absolutely a genius. I told my wife, because she's so giving, and I said, here's another nuance of women, though, at least my wife. I said, you give more than me, and I get all the awards, right? Variety Magazine, Sports Humanitarian, charity after charity. I said, and you give, and you sit there and you want no credit. I said, but you give so much. I said, the only thing you do differently than me is you complain about it. I said, stop complaining about helping everybody. You don't have to take credit, but just don't complain about, like, I took care of your father. Your cousin came into town, and your whole family. I said, if you stop complaining, people will really know how giving you are.
All right. So, David, what do we do next? How do people enter into this conversation? How do they allow their current story that's not getting them what they want to be dissolved? What if somebody said to you, how can I do this?
To me, it's real simple. It's find 3 people always in your life that sit in the situation that you want to be in. And so pick those mentors for the situational knowledge that you want and ask for help. I really believe that's the difference of humility, is those people that are truly humble, no matter how successful others think you are. Simply ask people that sit in the situation you're in for help. Reach out to you. Feel free to reach out to me. And if you don't know who those people are, I'm happy to help you, and I'm sure you are as well.
Good. So you said something about books. So
yes, I would, as always, be happy to send anyone that wants to reach out. My Instagram is @DavidMeltzer. You can Google me, David Meltzer. Luckily, my SEO is strong. You'll find me. I'll send 2 books and pay for shipping. Connected to Goodness is the name of the book, and it's by David Meltzer, Meltzer, and I'm @David Meltzer, DAVID.
And if you stumble across David Meltzer on Amazon, you get it for 99 cents for
if you want to
download. If you want to pay 99 cents for a download, and who knows what you're going to do with that 3 cents that you get from that, right?
Absolutely. No, I'm more than happy to spread the word and help anyone that I can and be of service.
Excellent. Well, this has been wonderful. So glad that you showed up today to be here. It's wonderful. So this is the Pilgrim on the 405 saying you never know what you're going to find out there on the 405. There's gold on them there freeways.
Love it.
You've been listening to The Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ. To hear more of the programs in this podcast, go to www.willchrist.com.